Before I came to this builder, I bought a Highland and I lived in 2 different Highlands. And that experience was pretty much overall the transitioning reason why I came here. My one story, if you compare it to another one story with another builder, it's a night and day difference. It's a brand new concept that we just released. And so this is a very exclusive line of product with the rear entry concept.
All right, guys, today I have another interview for you. I am sitting down and talking with my buddy Gene, who works for Highland Homes out here in Roy City. We're talking about, things you should know for new construction, why you should maybe build Highland, maybe a builder you should avoid, what it's like to walk through the new construction process. Want to do this as a way for you just to kind of maybe get some education, to learn, to grow. If you're thinking about new construction, this is a great resource and a great channel for that. We put out tons of content surrounding new construction and what all is going on with that. Gene's contact information as well as mine, I'll put down in the description below. Like I said, want to give you a chance to listen in on this conversation. Hopefully it helps as you're looking here in DFW to buy or build new construction. So here we go. All right. Hey, Gene, it's great to have you, man. I'm so excited you're here. Why don't we start? Just tell me a little bit about you. Tell me who you work for, how long you've been there, how long you've been in the industry, and we'll run it from there.
So I've been in the industry for about 4 years. I've lived in DFW pretty much all my life, had about 4 years of experience living out in LA, but missed Dallas, Texas extremely so much. And so came back and been out here for the last 10, 12 years and just been in the sales atmosphere. And I got into new home sales right when I met my wife. It was about a year and a half into our marriage. And she was the one that introduced me. I was in door-to-door sales as a roofing sales manager. And she was just saying, hey, one night at dinner, she's like, you'll be really good at this. And so I met with her manager. And we basically got on. April 2019, I stepped into new home sales, and that was my first experience being able to sell a home. I was an assistant, and I was very eager and ambitious to be able to get out into the field and become a community sales manager or a sales counselor. And that overall was my reasoning for pushing so fast into speeding into the track of becoming a sales manager. I was an assistant probably for about 6 months. And sold around 23 homes. I started at Lexington Country and basically applied to over probably close to 20 plus builders, and nobody would hire me. And I didn't get a call. I had a lot of phone interviews, but nobody would take a chance on me. And it was really hard because it was a strike to my ego because I was always good at sales. But my wife warned me about it, and I didn't really know what to expect. And so I had to provide. And D.R. Horton was the only builder that would call me. And so basically October 2019 was my first date, and I took the bull by the horns and kind of crushed it. And I worked there for about three and a half years. And then in the September of 2022, I stepped into Highland, and I've been here ever since then.
Yeah. So, man, you cut your teeth like through COVID, right? And just killed it. Selling. How many homes did you tell me you sold those first couple of years at Horton?
So I sold over 300 homes. And then at Landon, I sold about 23. I couldn't take a lot of credit for those because I was an assistant, but my manager would say, hey, Gene, step out, take these people up. And so in that time frame, it was about 23 homes. And then in the D.R. Horton 3 years, it was about over close to 300 homes and about 60 million in revenue.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't even know if I can ask you this. I guess I can ask you and you can tell me no. So you left Horton and you ended up at Highland. Those are very different products, at least in my opinion. Talk to me about like what kind of brought you to Highland. Maybe tell me about some of the differences. What you liked versus what you didn't like, because both builders, honestly, they have reputations, right? Good, bad, and everything in between. And anybody can find anything almost online about those builders. But I want to hear it from like your perspective of, hey, what it was like, dealing with customers, client facing. Tell me a little bit about that journey.
So at Horton, I was extremely grateful for the opportunity that they gave me. I love Horton. Everything that they helped me with, they really molded me into a great sales manager. And the
Yeah.
fact that I had such a turnover volume with all of the clientele and then getting into the contract volume, that really helped me get a lot of exposure and a lot of experience. I think the overall reasoning why I left Horton and getting into Highland was more of a work-life balance. People used to always talk about with Highland about how the work-life balance of a sales rep was so much more different. It's not so much as I would say a spin cycle class. It's more of a yoga class here. And no disrespect to Horton, it was a great company. I loved my management team there,
Yeah.
but overall, it's just a different vibe and a different product line. Before I came to this builder, I bought a Highland and I lived in two different Highlands. And that experience was pretty much overall the transitioning reason why I came here. It's just a different
Okay.
experience, man. The
So,
quality,
so
the
not only are
luxury, and the
you
value.
not only are you selling Highland, you actually personally live in a Highland home.
Yeah. Yeah. And I attest to that every single day. When people walk through my door, they're just like, hey, why Highland? And I kind of go through my testimony about, hey, we don't outsource our warranty. We stay in-house with that, the quality, the luxury, and the value based on like my product line and what I live in. My one story, if you compare it to another one story with another builder, it's a night and day difference just based on ceilings, sizable windows. You got the 6-inch baseboards. It comes with a tub. Some builders don't even include that. And having that into your home and everything else that we have for the standard features is a huge difference based on why we chose Highland. And that experience when we first walked in and we noticed the house and it was just frame and sheathing and it had sheetrock in there. And we walked in and we were immediately just like in this awe moment. And my wife and I were like, oh my gosh, this is for real. And that experience that I had is the same experience I kind of want to portray on to all my new buyers here of you want to fall in love with the product line. You want to fall in love with the house. And that's the reasoning why I got into this. But when I went to Horton, it became more of a numbers game. And when I came to Highland, it's now kind of, like I said, like a yoga class. And you can slow down a little bit and be able to take your time with the buyers and spend a lot more quality time and be able to show them like, hey, this is what we have to offer.
Well, and I think that's such an important like delineation for people to make when they're talking to any builder, right? Like so many times, like I think people don't realize how hard, how much goes into being a builder sales rep, right? And all the things that you have to do. Also, people don't realize it's highly volatile. There's a lot of turnover between builders and communities, and there's just a lot that goes into that. So to hear you talk about like, hey, we're going from like spin class to yoga class, I think that's beneficial for you, but I really think it's beneficial for the client because I mean, you and I know we look at homes every day, right? Most people are going to buy 3 to 5 homes in their lifetime. And we want that to be a really good experience. And that's what I've always appreciated about like you and Highland. And anytime I walk into y'all's office, it feels like a genuine, like one-to-one experience, and that there's a lot of care for what the client wants and finding them that home that's going to make the most sense for them.
Yeah. And I really attest to that because when I stepped into this role as a sales counselor here, having an assistant is really it's important to me because they can be able to take care of the paperwork on the backside for me, and I can be able to spend time for the next person that's coming through my door. And having that one-on-one time frame and having that experience with them and being able to build up the why and understanding what the void is that they're missing out in their current home and why they're even experiencing the thought of buying a new home. That's where I come in at, and I feel like that really helps me out with slowing down and settling down into the moment with the buyer.
Yeah. And I mean, and y'all have such a great product. So it's not hard to sell that good product. And I'll attest to this. I brought a client in to Gene a couple weeks ago. We looked at a few things, and ultimately they just didn't have what they were looking for. They were looking for something with a rear master bedroom with a bay window. And Gene goes, hey, we can look at stuff, but I'll be honest, I don't have it. But there was not like, sometimes I take clients into communities and it's just like pushy all the time. And I'm like, this is not a good feeling. It's not a good vibe. So that kind of, it shows in your product. It shows in how you sell, again, that care and concern for the clients, right? So talk to me. I mean, you said you built Highland, you work for Highland. Tell me like what's different about that product, right? I know that, but for somebody that's walking in for the first time, like in your community, I think y'all have 4 or 5 different builders at this point?
Yeah, in this particular community, we have about 5 builders. We have another builder that has a craftsman style home. Then we have 40s and 50s, and then we have 2 other competitors.
You use the word craftsman style. Let's back that. Talk me through it. When you say craftsman style, what does that mean?
It's just going to be more of a predominant siding product. So, and I used to sell this at D.O. Horton in my first community. So it's all about that niche of a buyer, being able to find exactly what strikes them and to where they would fall in love with it. This is overall like a dating game. And I compare that all the time. And I say that to all of the different people that I walk into with the new home sales game, that this is like trying to find your spouse, your significant other, and being able to overall tailor to what they are wanting, and then eventually mold into that product line with you and your family. And so that craftsman style design, basically where it's going to be a predominant siding, and they're going to have brick on maybe 20, 30, 40% of the home, depending on if it's on the side or if it's majority of the front facing on the elevation. So with our product line, we have a very specific, unique product with our rear entry concept. So it's a brand new concept that we just released. And it's only being sold right now in Karis and Crowley and Pecan Square and Northlake. And they just opened it up in Painted Tree and McKinney. And so this is a very exclusive line of product with the rear entry concept that gives you a lot more streetscape, kind of like a Pleasantville vibe, to where you're going to have such beautiful curb appeal. And then the garage is going to be on your backside. And it's going to be more of like how I would describe a garden home. And it's something that I grew up in when I lived in Mesquite. We had rear entry garages, alleys. And so I'm totally used to it and trying to portray that off to the buyer. And just like you said, with your buyer a couple of weeks ago, like I'm just listening to everything that they're telling me. And if someone's saying to me, hey, I need a one story, and I don't have that particular one story that they have in mind, with us as a company, I'm really good about referring out to get them into the right hands. If it's not me, it's going to be Mary at Waterscape 50s or Kevin at Sonoma Verde or Zach at Montera. So as a company as a whole, we want them to stay within the Highland family to overall achieve whatever they're wanting to get with their dream home.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I think y'all just won Builder of the Year, right? That's a thing?
So we are actually a 9 times People's Choice Builder of the Year. And as of DFW area, we're getting we're nominated right now for Best Home Builder and Best Luxury Home Builder. So vote for us. So right now we've been nominated for that. But in the previous years, we have won People's Choice Builder of the Year. And as of 2022, yes, that is correct. We won that award. Yeah.
Well, it's evident and it shows. And, I'll circle back on that garage thing. It's funny because like when you go look at homes that are resales and they were built like 70s, 80s, 90s, you see all these like rear entry garages, right? And then they disappeared because so many developers realized, oh, wait, we can make more money by just flipping the garage to the front. And so now when you see those rear entry garages come back around, it's kind of a unique, like if you're not prepared for it, you're like, oh, this is cool. But if you're wanting something, a minimal maintenance backyard and privacy and having more of that forward facing front yard appeal, like I think that's where it really falls in love with the right buyer.
Yeah. So with having the younger generation, and it's kind of a correlation to interest rates as well, where, some people are not used to the interest rates where we're at right now. And the same concept where they were growing up with the rear entry product line. I'm totally used to it. My parents are used to it. And I've a lot of clientele in that kind of age bracket are kind of understanding of like, oh, it's a rear entry concept. And a lot of builders were getting away from that. My wife used to sell in Hollyhock, where she was selling the rear entry product line as well too. And it was a fan favorite. I mean, it's hop, skip, and jump away from the PGA area. So that sold very well. But having the buyers understand the product line and what comes within the home, and having more of an open concept, more of a footprint within the home, because the garage is not going to be taking up so much in the front. It's now in the back. So you have more of this open concept all the way throughout the home instead of just in the last third of the home based on the front facing garage.
Right. So let's talk about as buyers come in, because I'm sure y'all get people in all the time. Do you find like what are some things you wish people like? I always ask people, it's like, hey, what do you wish they knew coming into looking at considering new construction? Like if they knew this, they would be leaps and bounds more successful in this process.
Well, I always kind of tell people, like, I just recently went through the market of buying a new home, and kind of, piggybacking off of my point that I made about interest rates, like a lot of people are kind of hectic about what the sticker shock value is of an interest rate right now, and comparing it to a 40-year average, and kind of going over like, hey, interest rates right now are still relatively low in the sense of what it used to be back in the 80s. My mentor, when I first got into this, he was basically showing me where he used to sell at the 18 and 19% interest rate. And he had to overcome those objections and also sell a neighborhood that was right across the street from a railroad track. So those were the type of things that helped instill into me to like preach to young buyers. Granted that I haven't been in this for a very long time, but it's based on my experience and my knowledge from a previous mentor to let them know like, hey, this is not supposed to be as scary as you think. Talking people off the cliff based on, hey, canceling and stuff like that. And I don't mean to say it like that, but it's, and I go back to my point of like, it's a dating game, and trying to get people to understand like, hey, we just broke up. Can we get back together kind of vibe? And that's like that, how it is all the time. And I was signing this buyer from last night. I told her like, hey, I'm here for you. And this experience is going to be totally different because I'm here to hold your hand. And I don't mean to say that as, weird or anything like that, but it's just more of like, I'm here to help you throughout this process. We have a great team at Highland to help support you based on my builders, based on my corporate office, from my sales reps to my assistants. So I wish more people would know that buying a house is not as stressful as it could be, because I think like what it makes it out to be is that it's very stressful, which we want to eliminate that and kind of just make sure that the process is as smooth sailing as you want it to be.
Right. And I think that's important because, inevitably we sell enough of these homes, something is going to we're going to miss a deadline. Something's going to be wrong. Like it's just going to happen, right? Like it's not if, it's when. And so I always try to tell clients, hey, it's not if, it's when, but we always want to be working with a team that's going to do the right thing to make it right. And I will say that, that's been my experience with y'all is like, hey, when something gets missed or something's not right, we're working together to put it back, in place. Right. The market is kind of what it is. It doesn't have to be scary. There are ways to make that work, and I think y'all do a great job of providing value in that area. Highland is also usually really great about incentive money to help, to offset those things, whether it's incentive in design or closing cost or a little bit of both. I mean, you name it. And then of course you tie in Highland, Highland Home Loans. That's where the magic really happens, right? When those buyers can get in. And for a lot of people, I think it's just like seeing that it's attainable. Maybe for the first time buyer, you're not buying the dream home, right? But we want you to see, and I'm never going to be in a place where it's like, hey, I don't want to pressure you to do anything. I just want you to see the numbers and see if it makes sense. And if it makes sense, I want to help you make it happen.
Right. Yeah. And based on reoccurring buyers with Highland, I know that since we take such great care of them, they always come back to us because they love our product or they love the experience, and being able to step into not your forever home, but have a home that you can be able to make a next pivot to the next dream home that you would want to say in the future. What better way to be able to do that with a product line that's got a brand and a trust behind it based on the clientele base. And then also with the Better Business Bureau. When you research us, we just have really great reviews and ratings based on our buyers. And that's not from a builders association. That's based on a clientele from the consumer that's basically buying it. That's the home buyer. And having that trust and value in that, and then be able to have that equity built and be able to turn around and have your return of investment to resell, that's going to be huge and significant to overall get you into your forever home in the future, if that's what it is.
Yeah. And that's what, and you hit it on a little bit earlier, but we talked about, the builder and y'all's warranty. And Highland is one of the few builders that I know of. There's probably a handful here in DFW that service their own warranties, which means the builder that built your home is usually going to be the person that's showing back up to handle anything that comes up. And that's a big, big deal.
Yeah, and I compare that to the scene in the office when Jim and Dwight are selling to that one company and they can't get a hold of that mega company, but you call Dunder Mifflin and it immediately picks up. And so that's just the quality and the customer service side of things with us. So we ensure that, our warranty does not get outsourced. It stays in-house and everything is going to be handled and taken care of within us. Builders are going to make sure for the first year, it's not going to just be radio silent and you won't hear from them again. And that's the beauty of it that I love about this company is that that experience, not only from the construction side, but the builder that built my house, we eventually became friends outside of work. And him and his wife are friends with me and my wife. And so that experience was just insane. But to attest to the fact of the warranty side with the builder, any questions, regardless of before that friendship, man, that guy was around the clock nonstop. And not only with my builders here, it's the same effect that it has with me. So anytime that a buyer or anybody post-close or pre-close needing anything at all from me, it's around the clock action for me. I'm communicating at all times with me.
Yeah, man, I love that. And it again, like we've talked about, it shows in all facets of how y'all do business. Hey, let's talk, give me some ninja strategies, like some secret hacks of hey, this is the way, if you're buying a new construction home, this is the way to save the most money. Maybe this is the thing that you shouldn't spend money on. Maybe hey, I'll start with this question. Should I build or should I take something off of inventory?
It all depends on what your value proposition is. So if someone's coming in here and they have equity in their home and they're needing to sell it, then yeah, I would say put you on a build job. And if you're very specific on the specificity of the home and what you're trying to gain, if it's a drop-in shower pen or I really want a freestanding tub or I want a drop-in cooktop, these are items if they're not in one of my inventory homes, I would definitely point you into the direction of building. This just happened recently where we have an acrylic pan in the shower space, and it's basically how people would say it's just that white plasticky kind of stuff on the shower, and she was really wanting the tile to be in a drop-in shower. So I was I have no inventory homes right now that's on the ground that's going to have that, so I'm definitely going to advise you to build. And so we did a build job for that. And so based on what I would say that are most important to a buyer is going to be all about the perception of who is buying the home. But in my eyes, my fancy items are going to be definitely the kitchen number 3, where that's going to be basically a drop-in cooktop that's flushed into the countertop. And then you get a pot and pan drawers. I've always never been a big fan of push and ranges based on the product line, because it kind of takes away from the pot and pan drawer and it doesn't flush it into the cabinetry. So it just looks empty within the sides from the range. So I always say to buyers, do kitchen number 3. Freestanding tub is a hit or miss because I'm a tall individual. So me getting into a freestanding tub, I would say it's not going to happen. But if it's a garden tub, yeah. But if you're looking at it from the standpoint of I'm never going to use my tub, but I want it for an elegant and luxury value, yeah, I would definitely point you into the freestanding tub. So it's all specificity about who's buying the house. And I kind of go over that with every buyer and just let them know hey, this is your home. And last night we were talking about a lifestyle room to a bedroom 5 to a media room. Where do you see yourselves within 3 years? And they said, well, we're probably going to resell this home. Okay, what makes much more sense? A 5-bedroom, 3-bedroom, or a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, or a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a study? And they said 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a study. So that makes much more sense because it's easier to be able to resell. So it's all about the perception, I believe, and about who's buying the home and what's very important to them.
No, I think that's super important. And what's great about you guys is pricing transparency is huge, right? So there's never a question of hey, if we're upgrading to this, here's what it's going to cost. There's no, it might be this, and then on Tuesday when it rains, it's this price. I've had that experience with other builders. I won't name names. But so yeah, that pricing transparency is huge. And again, like you said, the inventory versus a build job, there's both and, right? Because if I come to you and you have a house that's been done, and this is me projecting the ninja strategy here, right? You have a house that's done and y'all need to sell it, and it's been sitting for 45 days, we might be able to get a better deal.
Right, right, true. And I would attest to that. And if the buyer is like, "Hey, I need something quick now," then yeah, I would definitely put you onto an inventory home, because we will definitely have better incentives, because our costs are totally different based on the inventory in regards to a build job. So
Yeah.
if someone's walking in, they need, X date and X price, we would definitely entertain that, because right now with this volatile market and the unpredictability with the interest rates, being able to lock in a 60 or a 30-day,
Yep.
that's going to be much more attainable, I would say, and easier to knock out based on today's and current market.
Yeah, that's the hard part on the long term thing is you lock in the price, you're risking
Right.
on interest rate, and there's no way
Right.
to know, right? And going back to that I'm gonna shamelessly plug for a second and say, guys, that's the biggest reason why you don't want to do new construction without a realtor. You need
Right.
somebody that knows, like, hey, this community has this. Like, you don't want to run her all over town all day, right? Like,
Right.
you need to run in. And again, some realtors try to position themselves like it's me versus the builder. And I'm like, I don't,
Right.
that's not my place. We're all playing on the same team trying to get you into a home. And anytime that you can have, the more people you can have advocating for you, the more people that got your back, the better off it's going to be. And truthfully, builders, and Gene will probably agree, you're not going to get a discount if I'm not there.
Yeah, and I always tell buyers, like, that's my first question. Hey, are you working with a realtor? And the first question they ask is like, "Will that change price?" No, it does not. The realtor coming in is providing value based on their side to be able to help and basically kind of do the same process from what I'm doing to the buyer if the realtor wasn't there. But when we come in together, we work collectively as a team to be able to provide fiduciary duty on both of our sides of the table, and being able to provide knowledge from previous experience, like, hey, like I just saw a video that you were talking about, make sure that you do third-party inspections before and after closing within that 1 year. So some buyers would not know that. And I feel that in this industry, they can be, I'm not saying taken advantage of, but
Yep.
I want to provide value in that sense, because where buyers come in without a realtor, I'm going to be as if there was a stand-in realtor to provide
Yep.
that value. But when realtors come in, I try to collectively work with them to be able to provide the value and help assist, like a Magic Johnson, and
Buddy.
we're back and
Well,
forth. So
and that's the thing is, like, if you're taking a real estate agent, please make sure, again, take somebody that knows what they're doing in new construction. I've seen too many people's deals get torpedoed because their realtor had too big of an ego and didn't know what was going on. So there's that point. But then the secondary point I want to circle back on, and if you've been around my channel for any amount of time, you know that I preach this and I will die on this hill. Like, you have a builder sales rep telling you, spend the money to inspect my product. Like, good for, like, that means they trust their product, because there's some builder sales reps that want to do everything they can to keep those third-party inspections out and make it incredibly difficult. So you have a builder sales rep telling you, yes, get it inspected. We trust our workmanship, we trust our quality, and if there's something wrong, we want to make it right.
yeah, and even with my house, when I bought with Highland, my wife was like, "Hey, do you want to waste your money on that?" I was like, "Yeah, whatever."
No.
And
It's not a waste.
yeah, and I did it for just my peace of mind, and I just feel like it was probably like that man moment that I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to get my third-party inspection in for my wife." But when we did it, the funny thing is that there was nothing wrong, and not to say every house is perfect or anything like that, but I just trust my product line, and also trust my team, knowing that we will never, ever let an issue go unrest. So that in the sense of, if a buyer walks in, they provide the third-party inspection report. I send it straight to my builders because I know that they're going to get it taken care of. And my builder team, I support them. I take their full back on anything. And that bond, it won't be broken, because I will make sure that I stand by them on that sense. And I just trust that process, because I know that the house is going to come well tailored in the sense of the quality, luxury, and the value and the durability of the product line.
Well, and that's a hard piece too, because, like, everybody knows there's a labor shortage in construction right now, and so builders have this incredibly hard job of maintaining quality while maintaining a workforce, and so sometimes things slip through the cracks, and that it happens, right? And so, but like for you guys, we were talking at lunch a couple of weeks ago. Y'all don't even do a pour of the foundation without the builder being present. That is not that is not a industry standard. That is a Highland. No. Like you were like, that's a fireable offense for a builder
Right.
for you guys if they're not there. Again, and it's doing everything you can to mitigate issues along the way. Of course, with any sort of labor and any sort of trade, there's always going to be imperfections. But I appreciate that y'all do what you can to mitigate and check for quality along the way. And that's just one of those things that I think is important that y'all do.
Yeah. So just kind of starting from the ground up, if you're talking about the construction side of things, like on a build job or just in general, like we just started in the community, like we always ensure that, like if there was a third party done, let's say, for instance, we just started a new community, like there's going to be people that are going to come in and test the ground and just make sure that everything is good with the foundation and then just with the soil. We hire a third-party company to come in and ensure it as well too. So other companies, from my experiences, or from what the word of the mouth is, they just kind of take it for what it is from the developer standpoint and just say, okay, that's cool. I know with Highland, when we do our builder boot camps, that's one of the things that we kind of call the foundations on that side of things, where if someone comes in and they're saying that the report is good for the soil, we will go in and do a third party and just to ensure that that's correct.
Yeah.
When we pour the concrete, somebody from Highland has to be represented at that site. If they're not, it's a fireable offense. Going all the way to the sheathing product line where we put the brick ties on for the brick and when the house gets the installation of the brick. Brick ties, builder code, they typically stop at a 4 foot, 5 foot outside of the home. Brick ties to maintain it. I kind of call it like hairspray on hair. That's basically to maintain that the home has the brick stayed attached with the home. The brick ties that we do, we ensure that goes all the way to the soffit. So these are like little things that I would say that makes our product line not only just elegant and beautiful and luxurious, but also provides that valuable sense of that trust and confidence, knowing that, yeah, we're going to be the most expensive builder in the community. But I'll tell you one thing, though, we're going to be the less headache in the long run because we provided that value based on the durability, the energy efficiency, and the quality of the product line from the construction standpoint.
And that's I think that's an important statement, because you either pay for quality on the front end or you pay for the headache on the back end, right? And I think and again, that's just kind of I think that's important to denote as you're looking at competition with other builders in the community. So Gene, we'll wrap up and we'll let our people go. Appreciate your time, man. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Gene's social down in all the descriptions of the video. If you want to see really pretty homes, Gene posts a ton of them. If you want to see funny TikTok stuff about homes, he's got that going too. And then of course you are selling where right now?
I'm currently selling in Waterscape 40s and Creekshaw 40s, but for whatever reason why my product line doesn't line up with what you guys are looking for, I can point you into the right direction. I'm really good at referring out to other communities in the area for DFW for all of my Highland Homes employees.
Awesome. Gene, thanks for hanging out, man. We appreciate the time.
Take care. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you learned something from that conversation today. I know I did. I'm always trying to get better and serve you guys as clients here in the DFW Metroplex. So like I said, Gene's contact information and all that stuff is down in the description. You want to follow him on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, it's there. My contact information, if you need help with a new construction home, buy, sell, build, whatever, anything here in DFW in terms of real estate, contact information is going to be right there. Can't help, as always, if you don't reach out. So got to reach out. Again, thanks for hanging out in our video. If you want to browse new construction homes and you're like, I don't even know where to start, where you start, in the description down below, there's a link to browse a ton of new construction stuff here in DFW, all the resources that you would need. But again, I want to be helpful where I can. So I appreciate your time. We will see you in our next video. Bye for now.